This is Thorin's YouTube channel. Make sure you're tuning in, hitting subscribe.
When you guys made it to the Lanxess IEM close, so top 6, then you made it to top 4 at this major, I actually think a lot of people already got hyped, especially because they were seeing like these are newer players come from Academy. Did the expectations internally get raised really high?
I think a little bit, but I think we as well got humbled real quick. Because, I mean, yeah, we had a high note at the end of the, like, when we played the Rio Major. But then, starting the next year, I mean, that was actually 2023, right?
Yeah.
That's 2023. So coming back to 2023, I mean, what did we really do, right? First tournament, I think there was like Katowice or Rio. We played 2 games. We went home. We traveled longer than we actually played. Next tournament, same thing happened. Next tournament, same thing happened. Major comes. We somehow make it to the major. Major comes. We go 0-3. I mean, we didn't really do much, right? We just were struggling. I think maybe we had high expectations, maybe too high for ourselves, because last year you reached the semi-final of the major. It's kind of same thing happened with Outsiders, right? I mean, you could say they won the major.
Oh, true. Yeah.
After that, I mean, they didn't really do much for a year.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit a lot to handle. I'm not really sure if or it wasn't that much to handle for myself, but there must have been something for sure, because we were just all struggling. How can you go 1 year of playing decently, making a semifinals of the major, to suddenly playing 2 games at the LANs and going home? Like, that's unacceptable.
Sure.
So there had to be some things done. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of options once it comes to swapping players back then in MOUZ. Yeah, I mean, the year was just the 2023 was just shit, and the changes had to be done basically at the end.
By the way, when you have this type of scenario, I always think one of the tricky things about the game is people are at different points in their careers, even if they're in the same team. So I'll give you an example. When you joined MOUZ, for you, just to make playoffs and to maybe win 1 cup's awesome. It's your first year. But if you're someone like karrigan, people know all he hadn't done is win the major. Like, he's just thinking, I have to go for the biggest goal. So at this point in your career, if we're talking about early 2023, like a lot of these other players, this is when they're still bringing up the academy players. So these players, again, it's cool for them. They're enjoying it. But like I remember at this Blast Paris major, mate, you were actually fucking doing awesome. It's just the problem is the team had its issues. Like, how did you mentally handle that you can be playing very well yourself, but the team isn't doing well? I mean, the joke is it's the same thing ropz has had at times in the past before. Nico, if we go back, people have been in this situation before. How do you handle that? Because on the one hand, you must know you're playing well individually, but the results aren't there for the team, right?
Yeah, maybe like it feels a little bit better if you're playing good and you lose, but at the end of the day, you're still losing the game, right? You're not really achieving anything. You're just traveling to the tournaments, and really, even so to say, you could even say you're wasting your own time, Because what, you come to a LAN, you play two games, which were a lot of times embarrassing, so to say. It just didn't feel good, to do this over and over again. I kind of lost the track of the...
No, it's all good. Like, put it this way, in that scenario, I'll ask you a follow-up. Like, if you're in a situation like that, with no disrespect to your teammates or MOUZ, does it make you ever think, maybe I'm supposed to be in a better team, or maybe I should go somewhere else? Maybe I should see if I can get a move to a bigger squad. Like, if I'm in a bigger squad, maybe I can win now, right?
If I have to be realistic, there probably have been times where I was like, yeah, maybe I should have should go to another team, or I should have went to another team. But as well, contract is one thing.
Sure.
Like, like you have to make it in the right times, which is either summer or winter when there's player breaks. So when there was times when I was thinking about this, it wasn't the right timing in a way, and as well the offers were never there. So coming back to your question that you asked before about me playing good, but we're still losing. I mean, it still sucks, to play all these tournaments and just go home basically after a few games. But in a way, I mean, I once heard like a motto or something, like, even though you lose, but you're giving, like, you still give it like you're like all like your best effort, in a way you're still winning, because you know you're still kind of getting something out of it. But at the end of the day, we're still striving for the trophies. You know, everyone wants to win the trophy, so you're not gonna be satisfied with having 120 rating, but going home at 16th place at the tournament is not gonna fix it for you. You know, so yeah, at the end of the day, it still sucks.
As you say, when it comes to torzsi, the Hungarian AWPer, everyone now has just taken that narrative from those interviews where he himself said, like, oh, sure, he used me like different microed me more. And then people have taken that and basically they make it sound like he was like fucking, I don't know, a pumpkin when Dexter was there, and then in came Shuey and waved a wand and he turned into like a fucking sick, simple AWPer, right? He clearly obviously had skills when he was with Dexter. Like, people know. The problem I always thought as an outsider was it just seemed like maybe he was someone who got affected when it was the big stage match. He used to always tear up the group stage, dude, or like a smaller tournament. He could look really good. There's a reason why people hyped him. What was it like to play with him? Who was he, and who was he as a teammate?
I think when torzsi joined, as I said before, I knew before he joined, just from HLTV and just watching, like, he's good. I know, I even remember once he told me when he joined that, like, we're gonna make the top 20 together this year.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Which was 2023.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, once he joined, I mean, I think even the first tournament, Katowice or whatever it was, I mean, he popped off. Like, he had a very good tournament. I'm not gonna lie, like, he had a very good start. But I think with Adam, torzsi was more of a mental thing, because I think then he started struggling. He wasn't really performing that well. Yeah, you could blame Dexter's calling, you could blame whatever, but I think at the end of the day, the game is like 99% mental thing. So yeah, I mean, with Adam, I mean, when he was struggling, I think with him it was more of a mental part. But other than that, I mean, you can see on the cameras how lovely of a dude he is. Like he was like we used to call him a teddy bear.
Right.
Like, he was just a great guy, very funny. Very very loving, always smiling, very happy. So yeah, I mean, in this sense, outside and as well inside of the server, like, I enjoyed playing with Adam. It was just unfortunate that, like, he didn't really keep up his level that he showed up with at the start. But I think now as well, like, you could already see that he's kind of coming back to it now.
Sure, yeah.
I don't agree that it is because, for example, of Shui's style of calling. Because I mean, I was as well talking with Siuhy about this a lot. It's not that, like, he's doing wonders with him.
Right.
It's not like he's commanding him in every round or giving him directions what to do and how to move. Maybe after all, it's really just that they really get along well, and they are very good friends outside of the server. Right?
Oh, right.
So maybe just I obviously here gonna have to speak for torzsi. I don't know if it's true.
He's just speculating, yeah, of course, sure.
So, like, maybe he's just a guy for, like, who needs someone who is comforting him in a way, like, who he knows. Whereas with Dexter, I mean, Chris is an older guy. Like, he was older than all of us. For me, it was easier to get along with him because people always say that I'm mature, but I always as well was getting along with the older people, so for me it was easy to get along with him. But whereas with torzsi, Dexter and torzsi, I don't think the connection was that deep. So in this sense, maybe it was hurting torzsi a bit. But now once Siuhy came and like, they're very good friends outside of the server, then maybe after all it is the thing that is making torzsi better, that he has a IGL who is as well a very good friend to him.
Right, who is xertioN? Because the funny thing is, perfect his name has an X in it, because people use that cliche, like the X Factor. If you look at his game, mate, he looks like the ultimate fucking X Factor. Like, when he entries, he just wins games for you. Yeah,
I mean, Dory, very. You can see on his statistics that he's just very explosive. He can take over games, definitely. He has the capabilities of it. I mean, I know what's needed in these roles because I play those roles myself. He had games where he would win the games himself, but that's as well because of the roles he has. If let's say you're a player in these roles and you get a double entry, you are much more likely to win a round than when you are, for example, a ropz and getting a double entry or double entry on somewhere else on the map, you know?
Yes.
Because he's just getting the entries in the crucial and the choke points of the map. So when he's on, you're very likely to win the game. So basically, whoever is in those roles, whoever is in those roles as a player and he's popping off, you should be very likely to win the game, in my opinion, because he's basically, yeah, he's just making it easy for you, you know. Kinda, I don't want to say sucks, but he's still young, you know. Thorin is what, 18 years old, I think. So he still has a lot of time, lot of time in front of him. I think he just needs to be a little bit more consistent with his game, and like he's gonna be up there for sure in next year. He already is as well, but he as well needs to grow in some sense to, like, I think all the players have to go through some road, some ways to get to the player, like to the level they want to be at.
When you guys, right after the major, went to the IEM Dallas tournament that you obviously made the final of, being as this is the end of when Dexter plays with the team, is it the case that, like, did the team already know, like, there will be changes in some way? Did they already know before this event? Was it kind of one where people just played kind of just, you know, you just, because you know how it's like, when people know there's a roster move, sometimes it makes you actually play better because you can't just think, well, fuck it, it's over, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all knew. One thing we had in MOUZ, and especially with this academy roster, I call it, was that we were very open-minded, you know. So we would always say things how they are. So once this thing came with Chris that he's getting benched, we would share it, or like he would share it on TeamSpeak, you know.
Oh, right.
Before the whole thing would happen, and so yeah, I mean, everyone knew what's gonna happen. We knew that Dallas is gonna be our, you know, last dance. So there was no pressure. We just went there to enjoy ourselves, you know, ate some fast food, ate a lot of burgers in America. And yeah, I mean, we just had fun at the tournament, you know. And yeah, I mean, I agree that once there is these situations where, for example, there is roster changes on the way or whatever is happening in the team, it is much easier to play like with no pressure.
What about in the big match, obviously, was the heroic one in the semi-final? Like, they'd already beaten you. At the time, people actually were saying, like, heroic's number 1 and number 2 in the world. Like, they were supposed to win the major. This was supposed to be a big game to win. Give me some thoughts.
I know people said that they choked the game. I don't remember the maps exactly. I know last one was Ancient, if I'm not mistaken.
The last one was the one, if people don't remember, where it's kind of Dexter actually went mental. He had like a fucking 30 bombers, something crazy, I think, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last game was as well, like, we were winning, but it was getting close that they were coming back. So in a way, actually now I remember that we picked Vertigo first map. So there was some I know Dexter had some read with the vetoes, so we just went for the Vertigo there. And there, I think we just ran over them, if I'm not mistaken. There, he had like the crazy game where he just took over, if I'm not mistaken. He just destroyed them. And second map we lost, and third map was Ancient, where, I mean, I think there was some very close rounds that could have went either way. And I mean, thank God we closed it out, but it could have as well happened that they would come back the Ancient game into overtime, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. You could say that they choked the game, but we were playing good, at least from what I remember.
Right. One of the things I want to ask, and it'll be weird to ask at this, but I need this info to ask another question, right? When siuhy came back to MOUZ, people said something like that because he obviously was the only one from like the NXT that hadn't been brought up. People said like maybe he had something in his contract when he went to Gamer Legion that he could be brought back or so. Is this true? Was there a way to sort of like bring him back if he ended up being good? Kind of like, if people don't know, like, it reminded me of like a loan in football almost, except it's obviously not literally that case. Was there something like this as far as you know?
I don't have this 100% confirmed, because I was never really invested that much in it.
Fair
but
enough.
So I probably have as much information as you have, which is
okay.
like from HLTV and internet.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I as well heard that he was loaned to Gamer Legion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much more than that. I think.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I just wondered, what were you actually thinking when you saw him like going to the bloody major final? Like obviously he could have been in your team. Like that was a guy from he's a teammate of a lot of your teammates. What did you have any thoughts when you saw him do that run?
I mean, I think for me it really wasn't that like it wasn't that personal because I didn't know him that much, right?
Right.
Like I had never had a connection with him before. I just knew he was in the NXT. I think for me it was probably, as for any other guy watching the major, it was unexpected, right?
Sure.
I think every game you could say that, okay, now they're gonna lose. Surely.
Of course, yes.
Next game, okay, now surely they're gonna lose. Okay, fuck it, never mind. Maybe now they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I mean, I think it was unexpected. Yeah, I think for him it was, or even it is a great achievement that early in his career. And I mean, yeah, I mean, siuhy is definitely next up.
Before he came back to MOUZ, what had you actually heard about his in-game leading style? Because actually, that's the interesting thing. Until I saw that torzsi one, the funny thing is, I remember actually watching him frag, and I was like, "Oh, maybe he's like a looser IGL or something." But then the torzsi interview made it sound like some like mastermind, like control it. So, what kind of IGL is he?
I mean, funny thing is, like, once I heard we're getting siuhy, like JDC was still in the team, right? And JDC, like, since they were old friends since NXT, like, I remember John telling me, he was like, "Man, I just can't wait for Camille to get in, you know, like he's gonna make me so much better, you know." And I'm like, "What do you mean he's gonna make you so much better? How is he gonna make you better? How can he make this guy better?" I mean, I don't know what, like, again, I was playing with Camille, right? I've been on the team speaks with him. I've been there on the practices. He's not doing crazy, like, he's not doing magic.
Right.
Like, he's not doing magic with torzsi, you know? So I don't really know, like, what is he doing actually? Like, maybe he's cooking some stuff behind the scene. I don't really know. But I know John was telling me this as well, that, like, he's going to make him better, you know?
Right.
So I now, I know that it kind of sucks that John didn't get to play with him because he was obviously struggling in MOUZ, right? He had rough period. And I know he was telling me this, so I would have liked to see how John would have been doing under siuhy, since, I mean, we could have all seen that torzsi started to play better because of whatever reason. Maybe it would have happened same with JDC, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, it was just unlucky timing. It didn't happen that they got to play together. But yeah, I mean, I guess he's doing some magic after all. I don't know.
All right, magic aside, how would you describe him as an in-game leader, having worked with him?
I think in a way he's like a mini karrigan. I know towards the end, when I was already in the talks with FaZe and I was leaving, he introduced the strat, like a strat book that was very direct with how he wants his players to play the rounds, which wasn't really like, there wasn't really much freedom involved, I would say.
Okay.
But before he would have this, you know, he wanted to give freedom to the players. So, like, for me, not much really changed since, like, for example, if I compare it to Dexter, because I felt like the trust I'm having from him and what he wants from me, how he wants me to play the rounds, like, I felt the vision was the same, you know. So it was easy for me to play with him again. But then, so in a way, he was kind of limiting, but at the same time, he would as well have these freestyle things that karrigan has, you know. Very rarely, but he would have these calls. There is games where, I don't know, we're popping B 15 times in a row on Mirage. You know, there is games where we play Mirage, we're playing completely different style. I think he's a very feeling-based IGL, I would say. Basically, whatever he wakes up probably that day, whatever he's feeling, he's gonna go with that, you know. So it's maybe in a way kind of hard to predict him as well. But yeah, I mean, again, in some ways he's still inexperienced in, I would say, like, the directions and commanding. If I can compare it to Finn, I mean, I can only compare him to
Sure.
Finn because, right? Because who else would I be him comparing him to? Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, like, he has a similarities with Finn. He has a little bit of strict, but as well freestyle. But again, as I said, towards the end of the MOUZ, he brought this little bit less freedom-ish style, which wasn't really that, let's say, enjoying, but I knew why he was doing it. And the reason why he was doing it is because a lot of times we wouldn't be getting to the mid-round situations, you know? People would have a lot of freedom, but if you give people a lot of freedom and they don't know how to really use it, it's gonna hurt you. So like it's gonna hurt your team, right? So then suddenly you had to put everyone on a leash, and yeah. So I think, in a way, I think he's still as well maybe finding himself how he wants to play. Since I mean he's same age as me, 21. So yeah, but so far I think this is how I would describe him.
When you guys came to the last ever CSGO, and this was like the real last one, which was the ESL ProLeague one, obviously. The most bizarre thing about this is you started losing a fucking MIBR. But this is 2023, guys. It's not like some famous MIBR. This is like all the players where half of you watching now couldn't even name them. Maybe you know the Insane guy, that's it. But you don't know half the other players. This is a weird result. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we underestimated them, but I mean, Insane, I think he definitely had some great games against us. But yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I know we just played close game against them. It wasn't clean game at all. It wasn't satisfying with at all.
Right.
From what I remember, I think it was just one of those games that you're just happy that you made it through. Yeah, I think they caught us off guard in some sense. I would say I don't think we were ready for what they were gonna bring.
Because after that, even though obviously, sadly, it was the last CSGO tournament, so we never got to see what the team could have done, it meant that you had this epic playoff run, though, because, like, I'll list some of the teams you beat. So you beat FaZe Clan, it's a pretty good team. G2, one of the best teams in the world, just won Cologne at this point in time. ENCE in the semi-finals. By the way, everyone was saying ENCE is going to be back in the final. They're going to win the event. And then in the final, you played the new Na'Vi, which actually had Simple back then still. And so the joke is, like, I'm pretty sure people probably picked against your team every one of these fucking matches. Like, you're not supposed to win this tournament, basically. This sounds like an amazing run.
I mean, it was an amazing run, right? I think just beating all those teams, beating FaZe in the early playoffs, yeah, I mean, it just felt incredible. I think it felt surreal, even just playing the game by game, you know, like it didn't feel that it's actually happening. Maybe after we made it to the final, I don't know who we beat. If it was, I think G2, if I'm not mistaken.
It was ENCE in the semis. G2 was before that.
ENCE in the semi. So we made the final against ENCE, and it didn't really feel like we were in the final, you know, because I don't know, maybe it was as well because of the fact that when I remembered winning EPL back then, you know, it was a massive stage, you know, it was a big arena.
Yes.
It felt different, you know. So comparing winning semifinals against ENCE and let's say comparing winning semifinals against Astralis back then. Yeah, I mean,
right, because there was a massive crowd in Denmark, whereas this is like the Malta tournament, right?
Exactly, right. So the feeling of it wasn't really that. If I compare the two tournaments, like the emotions just weren't that high. But yeah, I mean, I think it more clicked after we actually beat Na'Vi, even though it was 3-0 again, and another 3-0 final in APL. I think after the final, it started to click in our heads that, or at least in my head, that we're actually winning this tournament, you know. Yeah, because before that, I'm not really sure if you could say that we were a title contender, not even title contender, not even a playoff team, you know.
Yes. No, I know what you mean, because it's like you say, even when you guys beat Heroic to make that Dallas final, all everyone did is go, oh, Heroic just choked, and then like ignored you guys completely. It's true.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, true. By the way, if you're someone who started out really young playing CS and you were playing all these years, it's got to be pretty dope to win the last ever CSGO LAN.
What do you mean?
I mean, like CSGO was your life. You won the last ever pro CSGO LAN. That's a pretty cool piece of trivia.
I mean, that is true. I mean, I guess in a way it is a great way to end the CSGO career. I kind of wished I would have experienced 1.6 LANs as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I knew that CS is gonna be there for a long time. I would have guessed that CSGO would have been there for like 15, 20 years.
Sure.
Even though it is CS2 now, but almost same game, right? So yeah, it is a great finish to the CSGO career. But in a way, it's not like it's like end of a story or anything like that. You know, I think it's just another leaf basically of the book. You just go next.
Yes. Right, obviously, this tournament as well was famous because another player joined the team. This time it was obviously Jimpphat, the player who, if people don't know, is Sergey's brother and got unbanned previously, etc. Right, a lot of people didn't have high expectations for this guy, but man, just the first tournament on, he was already looking awesome. Like, his numbers were ridiculous. Who was this guy?
I mean, Jimmy is he's a very quiet kid, you know, but at the same time very funny. And I mean, in game, I think that's where he's showing his like real face. I think he's just like the cold-blooded killer, you could call it. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's just sitting there doing his thing, shooting the models in the game. Yeah, I mean, he's not really a vocal guy or anything like that. You know, he has some funny moments here and there. But yeah, I can't really say that I got to know him that much in my time in MOUZ. Because I don't think we really connect. We didn't really connect that well, or not that well. Like we had good connections, you know, but it wasn't like we were on a like best friend level or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, for me, Jimmy was just, you know, a great kid to, or like great. I would say he was just a great kid to be around, and at the same time, I think he kind of reminded. He reminded me of myself when I was his age, you know. I saw some maybe similarities here and there. If he needed, I gave him some direction, but other than that, you know, I think it was enjoyable to play with Jimmy.
Right, when CS2 was, everyone first heard, it wasn't that long before it came, that like, oh, it's going to come, and then the beta came, and then eventually we all know that like after basically Cologne roughly was when people knew around then, it's probably going to swap over. Were you someone who actually like played it on the side a lot? Because obviously the thing about this is to play tournaments like ProLeague, you play in CSGO still. So were you doing much CS2 before the scene swapped?
I don't really think I was doing much CS2. No, I think maybe I played max 2 like these premier games.
Oh right.
I wasn't really investing my time in it. We didn't know when the CS2 is gonna come, right? So once it was announced or being announced, we were in the middle of EPL tournament, right? So I didn't really want to put my focus on it. I wanted to, you know, finish with the CSGO and then move on to CS2. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't really playing that much. I was kind of believing as well that the game will come out really when it's in the main stage already.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess they hurried it up to speed up the process.
In that case, when you jumped in and you knew that for like IEM Sydney, you immediately have to be able to see it. Was it scary? Was it a bit intimidating?
I'm not sure if scary is the right word. I think it was just like the feeling of unknown, you know. I think in a way it was same when 1.6 was ending and CSGO was coming out. Like, you didn't really know what's gonna happen, what to expect from the game, if it's gonna be as good as the other game, if you're gonna enjoy it as much as the other game, right? So I don't know if scary was the right word, but definitely like the uncertainty of the future, you know, because what's actually interesting is that basically every CS2 player, like they had their future in their own hands now since the new game came out, right? Because if you didn't invest time in the game, like you could easily slip out from the level that you used to be at, right? So yeah, I mean, I think as well in some sense it was a test, you know, like to see how people gonna do and react to this new thing. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think, you know, it was a new challenge and I accepted it.
Because one of the weird things about your team was when you went to that first tournament, and it was literally in fucking Sydney, so you had to go all the way to Australia. You had to go with the standing. So, I mean, no one would blame you. First tournament standing if the team's bombs or comes last or something. You actually had a pretty good run. Like, you were right there with playing FaZe in the semis.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, not having Jimmy at the tournament was unfortunate, to be honest. This was as well at the time where I was already with talks in talks with FaZe, right?
Sure.
So it kind of sucked that we're not there with the full lineup. Even though, I mean, as you said, we made the playoffs, right? We fell down to FaZe, who ended up winning the LAN at the end. So, I mean, overall, good result with the stand-in. But I wish a little bit that we would have seen what we could have done with the full lineup, you know, in the first CS2 LAN, and coming with the confidence we had in CSGO.
Yes. If people don't know, when FaZe was on this run of winning all the tournaments, when they won the IEM Sydney, Thunderpick Online, and then they went to the CS2 Asia Championship, they would beat your team every single time. You always had to run into them, right? Everyone knows at the time, obviously, they were on the streak winning all the games. What was making them so strong in CS2, do you think? What were they good at in these games?
I mean, I'm not sure if it was just in CS2, because as well in CSGO, there was a lot of times where they faced a team and they were just playing very close games, right? And FaZe would somehow make it on the top, right? So it was. I don't think it was only in CS2, but maybe it was a little bit of experience, I would say, as well. You know, like they would always come on top in these crucial moments. Maybe it was as well the fact that they already been through, or they already been in those situations for so many times, that once they, I mean, now I know since I play with them, right? But once they click into the overtime, like they go into a different gear, you know, like it's a different game suddenly, and I think that's why they've been doing it for so long time, because I don't know, they can just go another distance that people, they can go another mile that people cannot go in those overtimes, you know.
Right, obviously, they themselves, I mean, the funny thing is, I think they've even said it in interviews, since they themselves also knew there's probably going to be a roster move and Twist is leaving, they also kind of had that weird thing of like, well, you know, the team's like semi-dead, but you just keep winning, right? When you were playing against them, the question I have is on the other side, what's it like to actually be the player where you also know you might be leaving the team, but you're still in the team? That's like the other side of it. So that sounds a bit weird. Like, does it make it uncomfortable? Are you still able to give your best? What was it like for you?
I think it was definitely a weird game. It was a weird experience, you know. I never changed a team before like that. I've been in MOUZ for so long that it was just new to me, you know. Playing the tournament and the games with the feeling that you're gonna leave soon, and especially facing the team that you're gonna go to, right? Like,
it's a bit awkward, right?
It's a little bit weird, right? So yeah, I mean, it was definitely weird. I think I somehow managed, probably not to the extent that I would have wanted to. Not for like, definitely not. I mean, this we're talking about is the Shanghai tournament, but as well, then I had with the Elisa tournament in Finland. And
oh yes, I
mean, with everything that was happening around me, like I really didn't handle it well, you know. Yeah, I mean, everything was new to me, and yeah, it just kind of, I had a little too much on my plate. It felt like.
By the way, with the problem with that story where karrigan even said it in that interview, like, yeah, I sort of told, you know, Frozen, like, you know, I'll come back and get you later or whatever. It's like, how much was that just like something that was thought of years earlier? Was there really a plan at some point? Like, you know, we have to play together again. I know that it was the same with him and ropz apparently, but like, was there ever really like a point where it was like, oh, if we could ever meet up, I don't know, maybe if you're at an after party or something, you think it'd be cool to play together? Was it really something in the back of your mind?
It wasn't back in my mind throughout the years. Or like, let's say, like full year that I've been thinking about it every day. There would have been times throughout the season where, I mean, we obviously are friends, so we would talk at the tournaments, right? So, you know, at some tournaments here and there, you know, we would, like, he would ask me about my contract situation, you know, how is it going there, what's going there. We would be in touch in this sense, so it wasn't like I always knew, okay, now I'm gonna have a spot in FaZe from July 6th, you know. Like, it was never like this. I just knew, like, Finn would like to play with me, I would like to play with Finn, and I mean, in a way, you as well have to hope that, like, the thing's gonna align and they're gonna make a roster change at the right time, right?
Roster
like,
move, buyout, all that shit.
Exactly, right. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things to consider, and everything had to be right and at the right timing. So no, it wasn't something that I was thinking about like the whole time, or like it wasn't that much properly pre-planned.
Right. When you came to join this team, though, like, Even though, like, look, Twist has had up and down times, but they obviously won a lot of fucking tournaments with them. And as you're saying, the style's pretty iconic. Like, they were almost like a nearly unbeatable team at times. They could just win in any scenario. Is there pressure to come and replace a player like that? And especially on a team that not only in CSGO, but now they're in CS2, they're winning almost everything. Like, is there pressure in that scenario, do you think?
I think there is, of course, I think there's a little bit of pressure. But I think it's like the healthy pressure. But I don't think it's the pressure of replacing Twist because, again, I think we're completely different players. I think I have different qualities than he is. I think he has different qualities than I have. But I know, or FaZe knows why they picked me, right? I know what I can bring to the table. So, I mean, could you repeat the rest of the?
It's more like what it's like to, like, obviously in this scenario, like they're used to winning everything. Yeah, like the expectation is probably to win every tournament, right?
I mean, I joined I joined FaZe for multiple reasons, right? One of the reasons was obviously Finn and Robin and the org itself and all the players in it. But one of the main reasons was as well to finally be at the title contender team, right? It's been a very long time since I've been at the team that is going from a tournament to tournament and constantly being in the grand finals and even leaving with the trophies, right? So yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of the biggest factors for me to be at a team that has this inner pressure to perform and to win the tournaments, you know. So in a way, I think I was as well looking for the pressure because after a rough period in MOUZ for a long time, like the pressure is suddenly not there, you know. If you're not doing good in a long time in the organization, like it's not like after 2 years of doing shit suddenly like you're gonna get shit on because you're not top one, you know. Like it's gonna be step by step. Yes. There are gonna be changes, you know. Like first we're gonna want to make it to top 10 constantly, you know. Then you wanna be a playoff team or whatever. So I was kind of missing the pressure in MOUZ, I feel like, and now being in FaZe, I think the pressure that is there is good because that is what is pushing us for more, you know.
You correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as far as I know, just from knowing Twists and doing interviews with him, I think actually even some of the roles he had in FaZe might not even have been like his pick if he would have chosen them. I think in past he's done sometimes slightly different roles, but I remember when I saw what he was doing in FaZe and you were coming to the team, I feel like you were almost like a perfect fit. Like, and you were in kind of like a similar position as to what he was playing in FaZe. Would you agree?
I don't know what he used to play in Liquid back then. I heard from some of the FaZe boys that like there was some discussions with the different roles, or would there like be some role changes? What goes? I mean, I don't know if his roles even changed in Liquid now. I didn't really invest that much time. I don't know.
But in your case, do you think you were a good sort of like? It felt like those were sort of the roles that make sense for you, right?
As I said before, like I played these roles in MOUZ back then with Finn already, right? So in a way, these are again my comfort roles as well, and as well I have some of the roles that I had in MOUZ.
Yes.
So I think it's like a mixture of, you know, yeah. I think in a way, I'm in my comfort zone. It was just matter of getting comfortable as fast as possible, you know. Because I mean, coming to, for example, the Blast finals with 1 week of practice, which I mean, it is a decent amount of time, but again, you only get few maps.
Sure.
You know, and the feeling in the game is always gonna be different than it's gonna be at the practice. So yeah, I mean, I just had to play way more, but so far I can say that I'm in my comfort zone with all the roles that I have.
When you actually got to the final of this first tournament, did you actually think you were going to win? Do you think it was like the dream and you just get to win your first event with FaZe?
Actually, no. I didn't have the feeling, or like, obviously I knew that we were capable of winning. But, you know, sometimes you have this inner feeling in your body. I didn't have a feeling like, yeah, this is going to be like the fairy tale, you know, like this is going to be the first tournament and we're going to own it. I think it is good that it happened the way it happened. I think it will be too nice of a story if we suddenly, you know, won a first tournament and now it's suddenly just gonna kill everyone. yeah, I think it's good that we ended up in the final. You know, we got humbled. We know that we have to work on a lot of things still. We know Vitality is gonna be there next to us. You know, fighting for that #1 spot. So you know, just gotta get better for future.
Is it the case that in the final, like, were they playing at their normal level in the final? Was players playing worse? Were they playing way better? Because it looked like that was, I mean, I know Zero did go mental, but like that final looked pretty convincing for them, right?
It did look very convincing, yeah. It as well actually, in a way, it felt like it was, or from our side, I think it felt like we're not really there, to be honest. If I compare it to the day where we played MOUZ, for example, like the mood switch was a little different. I know that like it's been a long year for the FaZe boys. They made a lot of D rounds. You know, a lot of D rounds means a lot more traveling, a lot more days at the tournaments. So there were players that were as well like lot tired at the end of the tournament. So like could you repeat the track?
It was about like just like the fact that they like. Do you think the fact that they were so good in the final were like, was FaZe just not there yet? Were they just actually, was that like the best performance they've had? What is it? You know,
I think the reason why final ended up the way it ended up, I mean, there was probably multiple factors, but I think the most important one is just like, I mean, I'm gonna come with the obvious one, but they had a little bit more time together. I think
Sure.
Messi was on the tournament before.
Yes.
Before this, right? He was on the tournament before.
Yep.
So, I mean, they had a little bit more time together. For us, I know we obviously had high expectations. I know there was even a word of like winning it, but I know just talking to Finn and coming to the team, it really just wanted to see like where we're at, you know.
They made like the initial expectations quite reasonable then in that sense, right?
Exactly, right? Like,
right.
How is it gonna go? You know, like let's just make the best out of it. Let's enjoy ourselves. You know, make a little team connection with the boys. Just see how it goes. You know, I mean, we ended up making the finals, which at the end of the day, with 1 week of practice, I mean, it's not bad. You know.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, next year, as I said before, like we know Vitality is gonna be up there with us. Yeah, we just need to grind.
By the way, if you were an old 1.6 player, must be fucking dope having Neo as your coach.
Actually, yes. Actually, I was telling him about this in Abu Dhabi. That like, I'm looking at him like I'm sitting at the table with Rain, Neo, and karrigan, you know, and like it's all 3 guys that I've been looking up to at some point of my careers. Like I was watching Neo when I was like 10 years old, you know.
Sure.
Like I was watching this guy being in the frag movies, you know, or playing LANs, and yeah, just looking at it, it feels incredible to have these guys around me now and to play with them, and that is as well another reason why I went to FaZe, because this gives you a like crazy amount of confidence to have this around you, you know. Like I think, yeah, I mean, it's just incredible feeling to see these people who were once my idols to have them around me, you know.
By the way, being as your age right now, if people don't know, because you were so young in MOUZ, if you were 16 in MOUZ, you're 21 now. So here's the question, right? People might not realize this, but since you've played 5 years of Pro CS, like some would even say you're one of the veterans now. Not in FaZe, obviously, you have some ridiculous players in that, but in the scene, you're actually one of the more experienced players. Does it feel like that? Because obviously you're quite young as a person still.
I think maybe in some way it does feel that I'm experienced, but again, there is scenarios that I haven't been in yet, right? I didn't experience the final of the major, you know, the pressure of it. I didn't experience playing the Cologne final in like the packed Lanxess arena. I think there is always new experiences and moments that, well, in a way, gonna surprise you. So, I mean, I'm experienced in a way where like I know how how I'm doing my things. You know, I have my own way how to perform. So I'm experienced in this, but I think there's way more experience for me to gain in order to actually be really the veteran.
I do have one question actually about that MOUZ semi-final at the Blast World Finals, which is, funny enough, it's not going to be the angle probably everyone else would ask of just like, do you feel bad playing against your old team? I think the real question is this: if you saw how fucking close that game was, I'll tell you what, there's one thing you don't want to do, Frozen, if you get like the big sign and go, you don't want to bloody lose to your old team. That would have been a nightmare, right?
Yeah, I mean,
was part of you thinking about that?
I didn't think about losing. I just knew. I mean, I'm playing my old classmates, you know, so I just knew I had to show them, I had to school them.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there was no harsh feelings, you know. It's a business after all. We're competitors. We want to win. Once we meet on the server, there's no friends, there's no nothing. Like, I'm coming for you, you know. Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel bad. I mean, obviously afterwards, like, I'm always gonna say nice words to them because we had time together, you know. Like, I played with them, we're friends, and it was a great match after all. Like, they also played their they did, like, hands down how they played. Even though I don't think second map should have been that close, but overall, I think, again, with the amount of preparation they had, same as us, I think it was a great showing from them.
Yes. Like, being as karrigan had you when you were 16 and now he has you when you're 21, how are you a different player since then? How are you a different person?
I think mostly I just grew up in, you know, the way I am as a person, as a player. I think I demand way more now. I think when I was 16, I was more just there to really learn. So I wasn't coming and, you know, commanding people and telling people what to do. I was the guy who was getting told what to do, you know. I was learning from the people. So now I think I'm more of the, I don't want to say more of the guy who is commanding, but I know how I want to play my game, and I have my vision of how it should be played, and I'm trying to make everything in my power to make sure that I can play the way I want to play the game, but at the same time, like, you know, have fun, karrigan comfortable with how I want to play, you know, and other way around, and yeah, you know, just having all the layers perfected in a way.
Right, being as in 2022, you were 17th on HLTV's top 20. This last year, you were 12. And if people know that ranking, like, you have to be on top teams to really get in the top placings. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're on like a team that only goes like one playoffs, you're never going to be top 5. That's not how it works. So people would say it's actually going to be harder to get a higher placing in a team like MOUZ like that. Like, to get top 10 is pretty hard. Now that you're on FaZe, should the expectation be you will be a top 10 player in 2024?
I mean, every year I have higher expectations than I had the year before, you know. So definitely, like, next year I definitely want to break into top 10, you know. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the goals I have for the next season. If it doesn't happen, but we're still gonna do great as a team, I mean, obviously I might be a little bit disappointed in like the individual way of myself and how I see myself, but if we are doing great as a team, like, after all, it might be a great year still, you know. So I mean, yeah, there might be a little bit of a pressure to be the top 10 player next year, but I mean, we see how it goes, right? Like, we have to perform in order to get there.
I mean, here's the way I would phrase it, Frozen, right? If we take all the AWPers out the equation, because first of all, no one knows where the AWPers are in CS2, and then also in CSGO, they all just got to farm those fucking stats and they win all the awards. We all know how that works. So if we take them out, we only talk about riflers. Like, if we go down the list, there's not that many before we get to you even on these lists, mate. There's people like Nico, ropz, maybe someone would throw like Axile or Kaser out there. But after that, you get into Frozen. This is very quickly in the riflers. You're going to be in the conversation. Do you feel like, forget rankings, forget HLTV shit, forget trophy, do you feel like you are one of the best riflers in the world? Could you be the best rifler in CS2, for example?
I don't know. Like, I know what I'm capable of, you know. Like, I don't want to have like cocky words that I will be the best player of CS2, but I think every year I'm just trying to be better. I think so far, I think if I just look at the years I had so far, I think every year I got better in some sense. Even if you look, or you could look at the HLTV like placings or whatever.
Sure.
But in general, just by growing up over the years, I think there is a lot of ways that I got better in. So, I mean, we will see, to be honest. I think, when the next year finishes, I just want to look back and, be satisfied with everything I put into it.
Being as, if we just look what the other 4 FaZe players have accomplished in the last 2 years, it's everything. They won the major, Katowice, Cologne, the Grand, basically everything. It's the dream in theory to be in a team like that. Have you got similar, have you set your expectations to the sky? Again, is everything possible for you now?
I think it would be easy to say that, now, I expect us to win everything, they did win it before. But I think in order for them to achieve what they achieved, they as well went steps, there were steps down,
Sure.
So, yes, I would like to win all those tournaments. It would be great fairy tale to suddenly, come to the next tournament, leave with a trophy, go next tournament and leave with a trophy. But, we have to be realistic as well. And, most important, the goal is the Copenhagen major. But yeah, I mean, we just see how what we pick up on the way, basically.
Do you think that the AWPers are over-exaggerating the problems in CS2? Will CS2 be a game about the riflers, do you think?
I think it kind of switched more to the rifle meta when the CS2 came out, I would say, because, I mean, the strafing became more faster, right? But I think people are getting used to the AWPing again. So I don't know. I don't really know if it's overpowered or not. I think it's like with any other rifle, basically. If you're good, you're just gonna kill people, So I don't know. I think AWP has always been there. I think it has been way more overpowered than 1.6 now when I think about it. You could no-scope people.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it's just accurate if people don't know. Yeah.
So it's not that overpowered. It could be way worse, in my opinion.
Sure. Are you someone where, in your brain, because this is one thing I asked ropz, I always wonder for every pro, is CS2 just kind of like CSGO, but it's changed a bit to you? Do you view it as a different game and I have to take it as something totally new? How do you think of it?
I think, in a way, it is the same game, but different game. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. It feels like CSGO, the movement feels the same, almost the same. The shooting feels almost the same. All the things that you know from CSGO are there, but it looks like a different game. So I don't know. I think it's just, let's say, it's like a CSGO with a little tuning. It just looks better and feels better.
Okay, right. If you actually were able to win the major, obviously I'm going way into the future in a hypothetical here. There's no one from Slovakia has won a major, as far as I know, right? Obviously, karrigan famously, unfortunately, never managed to do it. He had all those heartbreaks with Navi. Would it be a big deal to frozen if he can win the World Championship of Counter-Strike?
Definitely. I mean, it's the dream of every Counter-Strike player, I think, to lift that major trophy. I'm not sure how much it would mean for me to win it for the Slovakia, but just to win it for myself and being on a team that will would win the major would that feeling is something that could never no one can take it from me ever again.
At the end of this interview, do you have a final message for people who watch? Is there someone maybe you want to thank or say hello to?
Just saying hello to everyone, wishing well to everyone who is watching, who is supporting, who's been supporting me, my journey in the MOUZ and now FaZe. And yeah, I appreciate everyone and love you all.
Dziękuję.
Nie ma za co.
I've had to make a lot of tough choices in my career, but thanks to the support of my Patreon community, the Skrilluminati, I never have to make tough financial decisions. So this video and all the rest on my channel are kindly supported by Ahmed Haju, Frisky, Mac Pugnaccio Racula, Animosity, Jensen Go, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it if you've ever heard before, and you'll hear it many times in the future. A special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerry Keys Minion. Do you you want to ask a question in my video AMA? Do you want to be part of one of those long discussions where we talk about whatever you like in esports? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are going to be? Or maybe you want to suggest a topic for a future Thorin's Thoughts type video? Well, if any of these perks or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is today and join the Skrilluminati by joining the Patreon link in the description box below.